If you're an entrepreneur, you know what it means to take personal and financial risks, create jobs that support your community, and devote most of your time to your business. But do you know how to plan for a successful exit from your business? Do you know who should be involved in creating your succession or transition plan and the steps along the way? Welcome to Finish Big, the podcast with Mark Dorman from Legacy Business Advisors. The podcast theme is inspired by critically acclaimed business author Bo Burlingham, author of Finish Big, How Great Entrepreneurs Exit Their Companies on Top. In this podcast, you'll hear success stories of exit plans done right and pick up practical tips based on years of Legacy Business Advisors' expertise and knowledge about the largest and most important financial transaction of your life. Now, on to the show.
Hello. This is Mark Dorman, your host of the Finish Big podcast. And today I'm joined by a very, very good friend of mine, a gentleman I've known for almost 15 years, David M. Shealy, CPA, CGMA. David is currently the managing principal of the Mansfield office of HW&Co. But let me tell you a little bit about Dave, and then we're going to dive right into his story. I think you'll find it very, very interesting. Dave Shealy is the managing principal of HW&Co.'s Mansfield, Ohio office. His former firm, the Shealy Group, which he was involved with for over 19 years, merged with HW&Co. In November of 2021. And by all accounts, it's been really a match made in heaven. Throughout his career, Dave has evolved into a trusted consultant and advisor for his clients, integrating himself as a member of their team to find solutions and help them reach their goals. He's had the opportunity to work with very successful entrepreneurs and their advisors, and he is a true team player. I'll vouch for that. For which his focus has been on strategic planning, identifying and resolving operational inefficiencies, revenue cycle enhancement, and establishing a strong link between a company and its finances. His belief is that the better he knows and understands clients, their business, the better he can assist them with their needs. Dave creates solutions to help clients reach their specific goals. He specializes in, as I mentioned, strategic planning, CFO services, corporate leadership, operational reviews, cash flow budgeting. The list goes on and on. What's most interesting about Dave that I think is located in central Ohio. Mansfield, by the way, is famous for the prison that the old Ohio State Reformatory that appeared in the blockbuster movie, The Shawshank Redemption. But he's got some industry specificity services, particularly to agribusiness or agriculture and manufacturing and the service business. So he's extremely well-rounded. Dave believes in serving the community, and he currently serves as the president of the Bucyrus Airport Commission and is a board member and treasurer of the Richland Area Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development. Most importantly, sometimes, particularly in the fall, Dave, as a graduate of The Ohio State University, is a diehard Ohio State football fan and a Ohio State alum. Dave, my good friend, welcome to Finish Big.
Well, thanks, Mark, and go Bucks.
Yeah, that was very understated. So let's dive right into it. So I want to start. I was looking at your LinkedIn profile and just looking over some notes. But prior to starting the Shealy Group, you were at another firm. What caused you to kind of branch out? Was there a defining moment where you said, I think I'd rather run my own shop, and you put a stake in the ground with the Shealy Group?
Well, I think, I was in traditional CPA firm for 20 years, a good one, in Marion, Ohio, and we built up to 50 people and a good audit accounting firm. But I ended up liking to work closely with clients, not just a whole bunch of them. I like to work with 20, 25 clients is the way it started to work out. And but I'd work a lot with them to understand their goals and objectives versus just compliance and getting things done. I don't like working with things that surprise me at the end of the year, when you're doing the tax return and things get surprise our clients. That hurt a lot, and I could see that, and I saw when we were doing audits, we were giving them advice that they needed about 6 months before that, or or longer. Those are things that I think you and I agree we're here to serve on this planet, and I just felt that wasn't the service that I wanted to be in. That I wanted to do something a little bit different, and be a little bit more proactive, and work with people to achieve their their dreams, their goals with deadlines and type thing.
And I've had the pleasure of working with you both as a client, helping you, and the Shealy Group, and then also seeing how you are such a trusted advisor with your clients that I've interacted with, thanks to introductions that you've given them. But you ran the Shealy Group for 19 years. You're located in Mansfield. That's a bit of a unique marketplace down there. You've got, as I mentioned in your bio there, a good mix of agribusiness or farmers, manufacturing companies, and service providers. It's got to be hard to keep track of all those various industry specialties, but you've got such a great team. Can you talk a little bit about the folks that you work with down there?
Well, I do have a great team established on the same culture that from the beginning, and one of the things that would just again, just to have a depth of knowledge of our clients. So one of the things that we do is try to meet with our clients very often, most of the time quarterly, understanding, again, how we can help them, and not just just not on an annual basis. And the team, I think, does a lot of their education specifically to the clients, and understanding what they're up against, the challenges that they are there. And I think that's what has helped us over the years to be proactive with our clients, rather than again, you don't want to be surprised, at least not very often, right? And so
no. I don't know a business person out there, a business owner who will forgive his accountant for big surprises.
Well, I thought you're right, and the thing about my mentor was always teaching me to eliminate variables, try to get it down to things that you can get your, if you can eliminate a variable, eliminate it. And successful businesses did that. And then the other part is just to have the discipline to have those meetings, to have that research, to stay up on top of it. It's not easy to do it. And just like most businesses, when they're trying to look out for their clients, they're trying to anticipate what they need. But but the successful ones I see, like yours, you guys anticipate what's there, and have a process, and very disciplined, that helps you look ahead and anticipate some things. It's not just ad hoc type of thing. So I think that's what our staff has done well. I think the other thing is, I mean, my clients would tell you that they can get along just fine without me about 90% of the time. So because they're well taken care of by them, the folks that work directly with them on a day-to-day basis, and that's the way that was by design, and it works, and that allows me then to think about the direction of what it did on the Shealy Group, but also the direction of how we could help. Again, we carve out time for that.
Yeah, excellent. So let's talk. I want to talk a little bit about a couple of different verticals that you serve. The agribusiness, or the farmer community. So you're in Central Ohio. The State Route 30 corridor runs through there, runs all the way to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and
sure does.
You've got tremendous wind farms through there. You've got tremendous farms, etc. What are some of the current unique challenges that are facing the farmer community, or the agribusiness, specific to this podcast? In other words, specific to succession, transition planning. How is their life or their business world different, or is it much different than that of a manufacturer, let's say?
It has unique challenges. Obviously, the commonality, at least with our businesses, is a lot of family businesses. So, and the farmers that we work with, are the ultimate family business, and transitioning from one generation to the other is unique in that you have so much equity that needs to be transitioned. It isn't just cash flow or stock that you have type thing. In part, it can be, but the assets themselves are getting are challenging to transfer from generation to generation. You need a lot of planning. You need a lot of good
A lot of advanced planning, right?
advanced planning, exactly, and over many years generally, and you can do it right. But it is a process that you definitely you have to get ahead of all transition planning, as you know, but particularly with the farmers for that reason. But there's advantages though too. The farming community and the families are very tight, and so they some of the issues that you would think might be more hard to get along because people in and out of the family business. They tend to actually be easier within the family community most of the time because of the recognition of that the importance of that the legacy issues of the farmers.
Yeah, I mean, farmers, it's at the absolute labor of love, right? They're not printing off cash, but they do have tremendous value. And certainly, having worked with some agribusinesses over the years, I mean, it is, family above self all the time for many of
Yes,
these individuals.
very much so.
But that 30 corridor, I cite it because it's such a unique, really a hidden gem in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, if you make
And
that, you'll see a lot of cornfields, won't you?
a
And
lot of
bean
corn,
fields.
a
Yeah.
lot of soy fields, right? And then
Yeah.
our good friend Aaron Harrison, he grew up on a pig farm. I mean, it's just it kind of there's a menagerie of different kind of farming communities, but then smattered in there in each one of these small towns, whether it's Bucyrus or Marion down the road from you. Marion's not that small of a town. There are a pretty good, significant amount of manufacturers as well. Is it hard for you to switch hats like that when you're going back and forth between, let's say, agribusiness? I know Sue Bennett on your team. She's really strong in the farmer in the agribusiness, but is it hard for you to switch hats when you're talking manufacturing on a Monday and agribusiness on a Thursday, as an example?
No, not really, and certainly not anymore. Again, we're not in every industry. We're the ones that you're mentioning here, but no, we focus more on the commonality of the family business. Even if we have manufacturers that are above $100 million, and but they're still family businesses. They so that's the commonality and that you lean on. But again, the common is the culture and these businesses, the successful ones that we have. The technical pieces of things, candidly, they can be challenging. There's no question about that. And sometimes the credits and things like that have come up in the last couple of years as we went through COVID, et cetera. Those are challenging, and there are significant differences between those things there. But it's like anything else. It's not, you kind of break it down and you kind of, we call them pillars around here. I mean, that each of those businesses, and we're pretty focused and we know who to talk to if we're on which pillar we're in. So it hasn't been, again, I guess the ones that we have are the ones that I've been working with for a long time. And so no, it's kind of learned. I grew up on a farm. And so that was natural. And then my uncle owned a crane company, so I got to know that at an early age and work for him as I started my career. And so those are things that I just kind of grew up with and understood, at an earlier part of my career.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you've introduced me to one of your good clients who operates over 100-year-old manufacturing company in a small town off the 30 corridor. And,
Yep.
it's just such a privilege to work with that company. You think they've been there for 100 years, right? Multiple generations, and employ, gee whiz, I mean, nearly 50 people. And if that, it's really a privilege, as I said,
It's a privilege.
to assist them in such a great, it's such a great opportunity to make sure that business stays in that town and employs those people. And you know the gentleman I'm speaking about. So,
Yeah.
but let's move forward. When I met you, I was introduced to you by our mutual friend Tim Burke, who is now
Mhm.
moving up the ranks at Key Bank, and
Yes.
he was I was telling you that I'm in the exit planning, succession planning space, and the next time we met, you said, "Geez, I'd like to hire you to help me," and I was kind of blown away because a lot of times up in my market and larger markets, the CPAs think they have all the answers. You were very open to say, "I need to be held accountable to kind of a process here," and you were willing to engage us, and you and I became fast friends. But I remember sitting with you and just kind of exploring, well, what would be a good successful outcome for the Shealy Group? I think you were in your maybe late 50s at the time, maybe just to
Mhm.
turn 60, and we put together a list of kind of the attributes culturally and size and location. And do you remember that? And
Oh, very
you
much.
really, yeah, and you were really, really gracious with your compliments. Like, this is exactly what we needed. And it was just a couple of guys brainstorming over lunch, but by the end of it, we had scratched out a pretty good plan
We
of
did.
attack of who was on the ideal list to become your your the successor to your clients. What do you remember most about that process?
Well, I remember, uh, my clients that you're talking about as they went through transition, and they're thinking they don't need any assistance. They kind of know their business. They know who their competitors are, et cetera. But the truth is, cobbler kids, the cobbler's kids have no shoes. We don't focus on ourselves especially in that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
on a transition, we don't like to think about it. Okay, I mean,
Right. Yeah.
we like what we're doing. We enjoy what we're doing. We like our clients. We like our staff, et cetera. And so I knew from going through that process with my clients that that's what I was up against myself. So, and when you and I were talking, I needed someone objective. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care about independence. I didn't care about any of that. I just needed objectivity. And I think most people need that as when they're making certainly critical decisions. But this is the transition discussions of any kind, especially on the finish part of it. It does give you pause, and you really have to say, okay, you got a priority, you got a list of things that you have, you have to address, but how do you find the time and how do you break it down and prioritize those items and still keep your business
And
clicking
keep your
along?
business
Yeah,
running, right? And manage the emotion of I'm 58. Of, oh my gosh, how did I become 58 just like that?
exactly.
I was 38 2 weeks ago. It seems like it,
Okay.
and now it's we've got a podcast and we're talking to seasoned businessmen and women about their journey. And but I just remember we quickly eliminated people that you didn't think were a good fit, honed in on maybe three or four that you thought were a good fit, and along came an introduction to the folks at HW& Company. So that's the old Howard Werschbale from Cleveland, if I'm correct. Is that right?
You are correct. Yes.
And I had we you now have a mutual friend there, Jim Horkey, that I introduced to you, and you guys just kind of hit it off. But what was it about HW& Company? And when I talked to Deb in your office just to confirm our session this afternoon, I said, "How are you enjoying it?" She said, "Oh, it's fabulous. It couldn't be better." So that is just music to everyone's ears, I'm sure, particularly you. What
It
was
is.
it? What was it about HW that you said this really feels good? I remember you saying to me, "This feels good, Mark. I really like these guys." The process goes on, and it's so emotional, isn't it? Can you just share with our listening audience kind of where your mind was through all that?
Well, it is emotional. I mean, there's usually things in life that trigger you to think about it, and I had some of those in some family health issues that kind of triggered. Okay, not myself personally, but within my family, and it reminded me that I'm not immortal, and my clients don't want are going to hold. Against me when I do retire, okay, or
Right.
or step back a little bit, and that I think is part of what we talked about. But I think when I met with that was I started that process in 19. Really, is when it really said, okay, I'm gonna do that. That's when we had talked then a little bit more formally. We talked earlier, but then as you said, we got it down to really 3 or 4 that I thought we thought would work. And I can remember talking with Jim at they're up in your town in Medina, and the it was just a very comfortable meeting. It wasn't forced at all. And if you remember, we had met with another firm too, another very good firm, but I think it was just not a good fit at that time. It might have been today, but it wasn't at that moment. And that's the way I felt when I talked with Jim. I just felt a comfort. I was listening to him, and he was listening to me. And that was the one of the things I got out of that I needed to make sure I was really listening as we went through this. But then, of course, right after that, that was in February of 2020, and after that,
nothing special that happened that year, right?
Yeah. So again,
COVID, right? Yeah.
I had this thought process. Well, I'm going to get this done in 2020, type thing. Yeah. Okay. And a few things happened on the way to the process, I guess. But I think the Brandon Miller is the president and CEO of HW, and he had just taken over at that time. And what a year to take over, right? And but when Brandon and Jim and I sat down at one of your nice club up in Medina there, I mean, we just had a nice open conversation of what they were looking for. And the one thing that we kind of skipped over one thing. I mean, you guys really made me think about, and what we started in 19 was to think about what the folks like Brandon would want, and what the information we needed, and what they didn't want. They didn't want stories about things, and they didn't want nobody buys problems, right? So,
correct.
You had us, we were moving in that, and we were working on the traction book and things like that with you guys' help. And it was a tab process at that point, the alternative board thing that we've been on,
peer-to-peer advisory boards.
We did that, and and that was invaluable. And I don't necessarily know that you have to go through that, but what it does, you have to be critical of what you're doing, and knowing your numbers, and knowing what really business you have. And you have to think like a buyer. And that's the one thing that as I look back, I remember you saying that more than once. What if you're a buyer, what do you think on that? Okay, because when I bring something up, what do you think if it's the buyer?
Correct. Yeah. And I would add to that, Dave, not to interrupt you, but you need to think like a professional buyer, right? Not like
very good.
Not like a buyer with his or her hair on fire that you just got money burning in your pocket. But when we talk to our clients, is look, I've got, if I want to make one transaction, tell me why I should buy the Shealy Group and why that has less risk than, another CPA firm just down the road, right?
Correct.
And that's how they're going to think.
And that certainly was Brandon Miller. Okay, he was he's a gentleman, so it always comes across, but he was direct, and so he wanted to know the numbers. He wanted to know and more than the numbers, he wanted to understand the culture, because he was looking for that how the fit. Okay, we're buying a CPA / consulting firm. Okay, how's that work? And how with the clients, how can that leverage, with what they already do, and how is that a value to HW? And and again, so we kind of prepared ourselves for that. And Brandon talks all the time about, some people, when they start talking about their businesses, it's like they start to have a discussion. They're not prepared to answer any questions. And I think, again, you have to prepare. I'm not saying we were the best ever to prepare, but I do think we addressed the tough issues. And
I think, you started 19 and in your formal relationship with HW Company. I think it took off in 2021. Of course, you had COVID in there, but I think it says a lot about not only you, that you felt good enough about HW that it was a good fit. You were willing to wait, And I remember you and I having conversations like, Dave, if this feels good, it'll be worth the wait. And on the same token, they were willing to wait on you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you continuously, just work to make your business better. And I think that's, the whole essence of Finish Big is really, and the whole message in the book by Bo Burlingham is, the sooner you begin to prepare, the better the outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
The better the fit. And it's not necessarily the higher the price. I mean, that, everyone goes there initially, but it's not all about money. It's really, and I know for you, it was, I want my clients to be taken care of. I want my people to be taken care of.
Perfect.
And someone that was going to respect the Central Ohio kind of 30 inner belt, if you will, because I kept saying to these guys up in Cleveland, and they had a Columbus office, this is a little gold mine that I knew coming from the north of that there's so many good businesses down there and a lot less competition. I kept saying to the company guys, and Shealy's got a big slice of that pie. So hats off to you for sticking with them.
Well, and them with us, obviously, as you said, there was a lot going on right now, and everybody had to just step back for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that discussion because like you said, you want to get things done, but there at the same time, timing's everything. And Brandon and it recognized that, and then I recognize that as well. And that's so like you said. All that did at the end was make us bond us. It did because after that there was a commitment. We both had stepped back, and so not that we shortcutted anything because we still had to go through that whole process.
Sure.
And but I would tell you that when you first have a general agreement, you just now the work begins to make sure everybody is feels like they're comfortable, and again to work hard toward the culture to make sure that it is what it is. We both sides need to know that they need to get comfortable with it. And there may be slight differences, but yet overall it's got to be very similar. And,
great. So the last thing I want to touch on, we've only got a few minutes left, but you represent a tremendous number of successful men and women that own businesses, that might own farms, but at your stage of the game, you're kind of on the backside of your career, maybe looking to extend and play a few extra holes because you've got so much energy and so much wisdom. And I mean that. But I mean, what advice relative to succession and transition planning would you give to other business owners so that you could help them kind of finish big on their terms?
Well, you kind of what we were talking about. Remember what's important. At the end, it isn't the dollars. It really isn't. It's not going to be that much different. The market kind of takes care of that, right? I mean, but really, to the extent possible, you help me remove emotion, and beyond, and also, no, you did. You did.
Wow.
I mean, I'm passionate.
I think my wife would be shocked to have one of my buddies say that.
But
removed emotion. Wow.
You removed emotion from, there's things that you don't like and you don't want to hear.
Sure.
So, but some things have to be said, and I think you have to be able to listen, and sometimes to things you don't want to hear, but stay focused. And it's just, hey, how you built your business was through discipline. So it's not any different here. You've got to prioritize. You got to think what's important, and then how to prioritize those things. As I look back, I'm truly blessed to have worked with you and
thank you,
Tim and Jim Boys, and Chris. It goes on and on. It really was changing, and I would tell everyone that as they go through this, you're going to need help from someone. Okay. Yeah. And pick someone you trust to do it. I never can't say anything about every one of your folks was there with us and helping us through. And there's going to be moments of doubt as you go through the process.
Yeah.
But don't lose the faith, and just know what you have. And then, but remember that the last thing I would tell them is, remember, you're going to walk away. okay, at some point, and you need to feel like you did everything you could for those people that like you said, your clients and your staff. And do you want to feel like you accomplished something in the type thing? And that was the most important thing for me. And I felt like the transition with them, with the HW, has been a cap to that. I'm not done, but at the same time,
Sure.
I'm glad, I'm grateful, and I don't know if I'll be able to pick up golf the way it's the way you have, but there'll be something that someone will have planned for me here, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. I think it's great. It's a great testament. Our guest today has been Dave Shealy, with the managing principal of the Mansfield, Ohio office of HW&Co. They're a Cleveland-based accounting firm, offices also in the Columbus market. Terrific group of professionals. But it's a great testament to the process of planning, transition planning, having objective advice, having some accountability, and being honest with yourself. I think that's a big takeaway that I would have. So, Dave, one last question. How do you think the Ohio State Buckeyes are looking this year?
They're solid. They're going to be
that's
solid.
what every Ohio State fan says. Come on now.
If we can get a quarterback set, we'll be fine. So
Yeah.
But
Well,
they'll be good. So
this has been great. Our guest today is then David M. Shealy, CPA with HW&Co. in the Mansfield, Ohio office. This has been your host of the Finish Big podcast, Mark Dorman. On behalf of my good friend Dave Shealy and I, here's to finishing big, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed listening to Finish Big, the podcast with Mark Dorman from Legacy Business Advisors. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes are available. Learn more at legacybusinessadvisors.com or call 330-350-5410. Please be aware the information in these podcasts represent the views and opinions of our guests and do not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Legacy Business Advisors. The content is for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional tax or legal advice. Always seek the advice of your legal or tax professional with any questions regarding your specific situation.